G'day ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Draw with Jazza. I'm Jazza and this is a video tutorial on making a Flash cartoon from start to finish. Just a bit of an overview and look at some of the things that happen and take place to make this possible. A lot of people have requested this, and I think the main motivator is that sometimes it's pretty hard to finish a project when you start it, or perhaps not know how to go about starting it. I will be looking at, through this tutorial, an animation that I finished last week with Greg over a movie jam, which is where we had 48 hours to make a movie from start to finish. So if you want to look at the finished result, click this annotation. But if you're not using the in-view version where you have an annotation, just go to the description and find that. Also, there is another video which Greg made, which is a speed time lapse of the backgrounds that he made for the tutorial, so make sure to check that out because he is fantastic. So do the same thing by clicking the link. So getting straight to it, what I want to do is look at the early stage of this animation before we get to the meat of it, and by doing so we look at the animatic. What an animatic is it's kind of like storyboards, which are, laid out, visual frames of what's going to happen in the animation. But the animatic is pretty much the whole animation in scribbles. They can be more refined, but for this, it's all scribbles. But we get to put a lot more things into aspect. Things like camera motion, like here in the beginning. We can also have sound and timing. And I personally find animatics really, really important. The main reason being because of sound. Because I want to space the speaking audio apart. Sometimes 1 to 2 frames makes a big difference. And using an animatic to space the audio so that, comedic timing works well, or that there's a good pace, that all happens in the animatic. Doing it on the fly while you're animating and lip syncing is a really, really bad idea. So what I've done is I've left 2 blank frames at the start here, which are usually for the loader and the play button. And then the rest is the animatic. So if I hide everything except for this bottom frame, we have the backgrounds. And then if I go over here to another camera angle, I've added another layer, which is a character. And the camera changes as well. Now, you might notice, it's pretty clear, that there's this weird box. There's this, there's this camera box here. And a lot of people might not know what that is. I didn't know what it was until I started using it, and they're amazing. It's called a VCam, or a virtual camera. And it's essentially just like a drawing, which you convert to a symbol and add a bunch of code and move that around, and it acts as the camera rather than the background of the flash itself. Now, make sure if you want to click, now this is a very kind present from Greg and myself, where allowing open access to the entire finished animation, so make sure to check that out in the link below, so that you can, if you have Flash, go in and steal our camera, have a look at how it's all set up in person, and look at all the details that I won't be able to go over in this video. Point is, the animatic is for setting up camera, characters, audio, framing, all that stuff. So how it's all framed, how it's all set up. So you don't really need to see much more of the animatic, but that is my animatic. So now I'm going to I'm going to open our movie jam file. So going to the beginning, as you can see, I've used these 2 opening frames. And then when animating from the animatic, you're just using the same file, but save it as a new file just so you have the animatic to fall back on. And you're just animating into the animatic. I actually had all of the animatic frames at the bottom, and I just deleted them on completion. So as you can see, things are much different when Greg's backgrounds are in. And again, if you want to see how this was drawn, the background, just go to his time-lapse video. So same thing, the camera angles, the camera motions are the same.
Just one chance to come back here.
So I've done a few little faking things. I've done moving the background instead of moving the camera and Wallace, to fake motion on the horse, things like that. But, without going into details of things that are more specific to this animation, how I generally set up the cartoons So I've shown the layering. There's the camera, there's the character, and there's the background. They are all their own movie clips, but the only one with clips inside them is the character. So if I go inside this is a graphic symbol. We can see that this is the character set up here, and I've got two separate things. I've got the body and the head. So I'm going to go into the body to show you what the body is, and I've made a loop. And this was just a loop of the horse motion. Then in the main frame, because the head had different animation, I moved that with the body, because if I go inside the head here, it had its own animation.
To come back here and tell our enemies.
Now, in terms of audio, people have asked if audio within a graphic symbol will play in the main animation. The answer is no. Only on the main timeline will it play in the main animation, or on a button or in a movie clip. So it's perfectly fine to use layers of audio inside a graphic clip. And that's what I've done here in what I've animated him to. So you can see here it's gone to a bit more of a, in the face, bit more of a frame by frame animation, and in the body, mixing it with tweens. So back to the main frame. Same sort of thing, just following the pace of the animatic. Now what happens is a lot of people have asked me, do I use scenes? Sometimes, but it depends on the animation. On the size of the animation, this is a fairly small one. This is just like a minute or so long. So I've done it all in the one frame. Now with the audio, in the animatic, I've had all the voice clips as separate clips, but you might notice that in this, all of the audio is one clip. Now, I had the help of an audio mixer, Zach Streifel, who is our audio technician, who took all of our audio files, mixed them, and put in some sound effects and made one audio file. But if I was doing it myself, I would do it the same way. I would make all the audio onto one audio file, because it just makes it a lot easier to deal with. Especially if there are lag issues, just moving the whole thing one frame forwards or backwards can solve that problem. So same thing, it's all following the animatic. It's all one big frame. Not frame, one big timeline span. And all these characters are set up the same. So if I went into this character, he's got all his body parts on separate layers, and inside his head, he's got his facial animation. And they're all graphic symbols. The reason they're graphics is because that way we can see the animation play as we play it in the main timeline. Make sure if you make a new frame or a keyframe on a graphic symbol, if you pull it to one way or the other, you're pulling that whole span of animation one way or the other. So it's difficult. If you want to make a tween and move the tween, you're going to have to be a bit tricky about how you do that. And then finally, as it winds up towards the end, so I'm just pulling this along here, we've got our credits that happen. When I do fade to blacks like this, what I do is I have the camera is ignorant of this. I just have a layer of a black shape tweening into a solid black shape. So from 0 alpha to 100% alpha, like that. And then we've got the credits, and it's pretty simple how the credits follow the pacing of the music, and at the very end, I've got a single last frame with action script on it, which is simply stop, bracket, bracket, semicolon, which stops the animation dead in its tracks. And then we've got a button overlay here, which simply makes it play from the very beginning of the animation. As for coding, I'm not a coder. I make my buttons in ActionScript 2. They're really, really simple, and I recycle them from other animations. So there's nothing too fancy there that you need to learn. And making sure at the very beginning of the flash animation, if you're having it as a flash, this is where you want to make sure you have a preloader. There are Newgrounds preloaders for free on newgrounds.com. I'll make sure to include a link in the description there. If you're making it for the internet, or if you, as in like YouTube, or you want to make a video out of it, there's going to very soon be a Swift-to-video converter coming out through Newgrounds, which will be free, called Swivel, and I will make sure to announce that as soon as it comes out. Otherwise, I've been using one called Moyea Swift-to-Video, Moyea. So thank you very much for checking out the video tutorial. Again, make sure you use our present, which is the link below, which leads to the raw Flash FLA files of this animation and the animatic, which are in CS3, not CS6. So you can check that out on lower versions of Flash if you haven't been able to use the files that I've provided in the past so far. Thanks for checking out the animation. Make sure to rate, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff, and have a wonderful day.
I hope you enjoyed this video. Links are below to download the original files for reference. Remember, if you animate or draw something cool, be sure to share it on Newgrounds.com, the internet's best source for animations, games, art and music. Until next time, see you later.